Okay, what do you want?
Cheerios.
Cheerios. They don't got Cheerios. What else?
Lasagna.
Hi there, and welcome to Baseball by Design. I am SportsLogos.net minor league baseball correspondent Paul Caputo, broadcasting live from Dan Simon's kitchen in Louisville, Kentucky.
And I am Dan Simon, broadcasting live from the very same spot. Actually, technically, the breakfast room next to our kitchen.
I got it wrong. We're in the breakfast nook here, overlooking Dan's beautiful backyard. Dan, this episode is sponsored by General Mills and Cheerios. That sound is me shaking the box of Cheerios. We just had some breakfast. We're having some coffee. General Mills flew me from Colorado to Louisville so that we could record this segment together. Thank you, General Mills.
Yes, they are magnanimous. They're serial magnanimisers.
That's very good. They're serial magnanimisers. Unfortunately, everything I just said was a lie, and that word was made up. General Mills has not yet sent us money, but I'm going to send them a bill. I'm going to say thank you for your sponsorship and send General Mills a bill. Thank you for your sponsorship, General Mills.
Yep, I'm sure you will receive payment post haste.
The reason for all this Cheerios talk, Dan, and we literally, Ranger Amy and I are on a road trip right now, driving from Colorado back to the East Coast. And we brought a box of Cheerios with us so that you and I could share some Cheerios, because this episode is about a team that is doing a themed night based on the fact that the General Mills plant is in their hometown, and sometimes it causes their hometown to smell like Cheerios. The Buffalo Bisons, not the Bison, the Buffalo Bisons are doing a themed night where they're dressing like Cheerios, basically. Have you ever designed a logo or a uniform that was intended to look like a box of something off a grocery store shelf?
Who hasn't?
It's in every designer's portfolio.
Now, actually, have I ever designed something? The answer to that is yes, but not for a project. It was for Halloween when I worked at Dodger Stadium. And my wife had just given birth to either our first or second child. Both of them were born when I worked for the Dodgers. And for Halloween at Dodger Stadium, I don't know that if everybody dressed up, but me and my assistant designer there, Kevin Bright, he was not listening, so no shout out to Kevin right now.
We got to get the word out to Kevin Bright, though.
And I dressed as a box of Wheaties, but instead of Wheaties, it said Daddies.
Oh, that's funny.
The ingredients were like all of the things you need to be. So basically what I did, I made a giant cardboard box with holes cut out for my arms, and I printed out in color, tiled the design of a Wheaties box, but Daddies instead of Wheaties. And the ingredients were on the side were all of the things you need to be a good father. And I don't remember all the rest of the specifics, but yeah, I designed a giant Wheaties inspired cereal box.
You know, it's funny actually that you would say that, because that prompts the memory that I have that when I was in graduate school for graphic design, that one of our projects was we had to redesign the nutrition information label from food packaging. Dan, I got to tell you, like being creative, doing logos or, really like elaborate, cool posters or animations, all that stuff was a little beyond me. But information design, nutrition labels for food packaging, that was my wheelhouse. My professors could not stop gushing over how great this project was. So
We're all over that.
yeah. Anytime I had to do something that was like visually appealing or interesting, they were just like, okay, well, that's what Sandy is for. But that was my wheelhouse, was information design.
Let me just add one thing about that Halloween costume I said I wore, because I mentioned my assistant designer, Kevin Bright. He dressed, so he was part of the costume also. He came to work in pajamas, and we had a little red wagon for some reason at Dodger Stadium, and I pulled him around in the little red wagon because he was supposed to be my kid.
Yeah. Is the fact that he doesn't listen to this podcast, is that how come he's no longer working for you?
No, the reason he's no longer working for me is I left the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Good point.
So,
Well, Dan, this is a really fun story, and Pat Malacaro and I will get into this in the next segment here. But let's just say the existence of this brand owes its existence. Oh no, allow myself to introduce myself. The fact of this brand existing at all is due in a small part to baseball by design. This is Pat has been on the podcast before, and the notion of maybe Cheerios could be an alternate identity for the Buffalo Bisons came up in baseball by design, and we'll get into that story here in a little bit. So, Dan, I'm super excited, A, to be in your kitchen. We had a great time last night at a Louisville Bats game last night. Not your kitchen, your breakfast nook. And you and your lovely wife, AJ, who we met for the first time last night, put us up in your beautiful home here in Louisville. So we're so grateful for that and so grateful to share, no joke, actually having a bowl of Cheerios in Dan Simon's kitchen right now.
And remember, your best days start with breakfast.
Cheerios can help lower cholesterol as part of a heart-healthy diet. All right, everyone, this is fun. Welcome back to the Baseball by Design podcast. Pat Malacaro, who is the manager of baseball communications with the Buffalo Bisons, not Bison, not Bisons, Bisons. Pat, welcome back. How are you?
Doing great, Paul. Yeah, it's always fun to chat with you, and just listen back to our podcast from a couple of years ago that we're going to talk about in a minute. It was a exciting couple of years for us that lead to what will be a fun night at the ballpark this August, and the process for all this stuff is what I enjoy the most. So I'm looking forward to delving into that with you today.
Well, this is it's a really fun story that you're alluding to. You were on the podcast in 2023 where we largely talked about the Bison's identity, and this is a historic team that dates back to 1877 in various iterations. The current iteration has been around since 1979. So a historic team, one of, if not the very first minor league baseball teams, especially still in existence now. So again, that's a whole story. Hey, go listen to that episode from 2023 if you want to hear the story of the Buffalo Bisons. We're here to talk about Cheerios. This is just such a fun story, and I happen to love it because you're giving me a tiny bit of credit. I'm not sure I deserve the credit that you're giving me for this, but it's a fun story to tell. Before we get into that part of the story, let's just talk about Cheerios and Buffalo and this identity, like why it makes sense. How come the Buffalo Bisons are having a promotional night that is titled My City Smells Like Cheerios Night?
Yeah, it's a fun story, and it's something that it's kind of been a rallying cry for Western New York for so many years. General Mills, the food producer and cereal maker, is based out of Western New York. One of their main plants is almost a stone's throw from the ballpark. You can see the grain elevator just a couple of blocks away from Salem Field. And for folks that may know the long shipping history and the grain elevators of Western New York, that's one of the last kind of active grain elevators where the ship will come in, deliver all the grain. It gets processed, and the city will literally smell like the cereal that General Mills is making that day or that week. The winds off of Lake Erie blow in towards the city itself. So one of the jokes in a fun and playful way for Buffalo for years has been that our city smells like Cheerios. On a day like today, you could smell Cheerios, you could smell Lucky Charms, another General Mills cereal that folks have come to know and love. And there's such brand items, right? Like when you have cereal, you say you have Cheerios, almost like you say when you need a tissue, you use a Kleenex. So Cheerios is something that's synonymous with breakfast in cereal, and it's almost an interchangeable word for that. So My City Smells Like Cheerios has been something that people in Buffalo have talked about for years. And, in Western New York, the things that we produce are such a point of pride because, for so many years, whether it's Bethlehem Steel and other manufacturing, we're not unique in that Rust Belt area, but so many things have left the area. General Mills has been one of the constants for about as long as the Bisons have been around in baseball, right? Since basically the founding of the grain elevators in Buffalo so many years ago. So it's one of those points of pride for Buffalo. So it's just kind of one of those neat, fun local experiences that we thought would play well with the fans, and glad that the early reception is that it is.
So that's one of the questions I was going to ask you is how has it been received? What do the people of Buffalo think of this?
People love it. And it goes beyond just the fact that we're going to call it Our City Smells Like Cheerios. And we'll maybe get into the nitty gritty details of how that actually came about in a minute. But the design was always going to be how do you make it look like a cereal box in the end? And that's why the color scheme kind of deviates from the normal Bison color scheme of the red and royal blue. Yes, the red is in the cap and that's on the bill of the cap, but really when you think of Cheerios and you think of cereal, you think of the yellow box. So that was kind of this jumping off point, the starting point of, okay, how do we make this feel like cereal, look like cereal, and tell people, even if you have never had Cheerios in your life, but you've seen them on the store shelves at your local grocery store or supermarket, you know what that is. It's an iconic brand. So I think that's one way that it resonates. That even if you don't eat Cheerios or eat cereal, you know what Cheerios are. So when you see it, you instantly think of maybe your childhood and you eat something else, but you think of cereal and you think of those fun experiences over the years. So I think that's one of the ways that not only locally in Buffalo fans have embraced it in terms of the nickname of My City Smells Like Cheerios Night, but also just the look and the feel of the uniform, the cap, which is slightly different than the uniform itself. All those different elements play into what would have been a really nice launch. And just anecdotally, I'll tell you, the Bisons were home last week in the middle part of May. And really, that's when fans had the first chance to buy all these items in the team store. And you could see the bright yellow caps sitting in the seats. So Bison fans are buying them and wearing them. So that is something that, it's always a part of it as well, is the merchandise and how well that's received. And so far, so good.
Well, I am wearing one of those caps right now. You very generously sent me an awesome dad hat with this logo. And yeah, let's talk about this logo here for a minute because it's fun. It incorporates your mascot, Buster the Bison. Buster the Bison or Buster the Bison, an American buffalo, if you will. Buster the American buffalo, we'll say, who is on the cap logo. He is holding a spoon like a baseball bat. The package that you sent me also had a little spoon in it too, which I very much appreciated. And he's holding the spoon like a baseball bat, and there's a splash of milk and a splash of Cheerios. And then on the jersey, there's a different version of Buster because there have been different Busters over the years. And he's diving to catch a baseball, and he is just over a red bowl filled with milk and Cheerios, and the bowl has the outline of the city of Buffalo on it there. So it's just fun, right? Like, so it's, and like you say, the prevailing element here is this bright yellow Cheerios box color.
Yeah, and that was one of the main talking points early on as this was being developed, and it goes back to a conversation with our marketing team and people like Brad Bisbing, who's our assistant general manager, who kind of leads the charge on these elements, or Terry McDonald, the one who nicely put the color changing spoon in the box that sent your way, or Ali Marcano, who was our graphic designer, who has come up with a lot of our fun designs the last couple of years. They kind of lead the charge in terms of developing the graphics for it. And then as a group, we sat down and said, this is fun. There were a couple of different versions of the Buster on the cap. Does he match the Buster diving for the baseball? Is it okay that he's swinging a cereal spoon instead of the bat, on the cap? And I think that was one of the first real decisions we had to make as a group of, do we separate the two Busters into two different elements of the cereal? It was overwhelmingly yes. We had a couple of different versions of it, as you always will, with the creative development process of everything. And for Ali and Brad and Terry, I think that was one of the things that we decided early on was, the Buster holding the cereal spoon as if it was a bat just fits on the cap better than maybe Buster jumping in the air without the cereal bowl behind it. So that again just goes to, exactly what you're looking at. If you see My City Smells Like Cheerios Night, and you see Buster holding a spoon with that splash of milk around him. So, and even on the sleeve of the jersey, you have the nutritional contents, the nutritional facts on a box of cereal. Well, we've added kind of a couple of fun elements, family friendly type of elements to replace the nutrition facts. So again, those little details that went into the creative design and creative process of this uniform and cap, and trying to make it as fun and as unique and fitting the branding of cereal as possible.
Well, you mentioned a couple of the design elements that I was going to bring up here for sure. The nutrition fact sleeve patch is awesome. It lists the daily requirements of passion, pride, loyalty, charity, friendliness, and love, all, of course, at 100% of your daily values. And then there is a family size Starburst, like you would see on on a cereal box, that is also incorporated into the design elements. And so I have to ask you, as part of this process, General Mills, General Mills does a lot of cereals, Trix, Lucky Charms, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Honey Nut Cheerios, Cocoa Puffs. There are a lot of sort of fun visual elements about all of those. You've kind of alluded to this already, but I may ask you to expand a little bit. How did you settle on Cheerios as the cereal, the representative cereal for General Mills?
It just goes back to the fact that people refer to the city smell like Cheerios specifically, and that's the one brand that you get the smell and the sense of the most in Western New York. So when people, it's been on T-shirts, and it goes back to what we talked about back in the podcast in 23. People have been buying T-shirts that say "My city smells like Cheerios" for probably 15, 20 years now, since the kind of local T-shirt market, at least in the Buffalo area, has become very popular, and kind of that alternate branding. So that's just that's the natural fit in terms of the cereal, and the Cheerios brand has been around for as long as I think anyone can remember, and that is like the staple cereal. So I think when you talk about the elements of it, that's kind of why Cheerios was selected, and even goes back to this process has started 3 years ago when we talked, but it was a long time coming. And even, talking, you have to get certain permissions to do certain things. And, respect that General Mills doesn't just want to put their trademarks and their logos and, their branding on anything. So, maybe start with something that just as simple as "My city smells like cereal" night, or the cereal night at the ballpark. Everyone, I think, in Western New York would know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't think, people outside of Buffalo would necessarily know and would have the same type of gravitas, if you will. But, in that process of talking to General Mills, they understood where we were coming from. They heard all the different elements. They saw all the different elements we were adding into the night, including all the different sleeve marks and the different things we were doing. So I think they bought into it pretty quickly. But it's fun how this night has evolved in those 3 years, and it takes time. This is something that could have maybe happened in 2025 if the certain trademarks were approved, and certain things were signed off on before. But I think it just fits this year with what we as the Bisons have going on in terms of the special theme nights, and excited to have it finally come to fruition here this year.
One of the things that I noted was that you took a slightly different path, and I promise we're going to talk about the origin story for this brand. But the path that you took with "My city smells like Cheerios" night at the ballpark is different from if you had told me that the Bisons were going to do this theme tonight. I would have assumed that the team was going to have an anthropomorphic Cheerio with googly eyes and two hands holding a baseball bat, and little white feet or whatever. I would have assumed you would have been the Buffalo Breakfast Flakes or the Buffalo Cheerios even, and you would have just had an anthropomorphic character rather than integrating the Bison's brand with the Cheerios brand and putting it on a uniform. That's different from what a lot of minor league teams are doing. Was that ever part of the conversation? Did you ever think about we're going to play as the Buffalo Cheerios for one night?
I think just how hard it goes back to maybe a little bit what I was just mentioning a moment ago about how all those different, whether it's trademarks or different approvals, need to be had and signed off on. I think if the Bisons and General Mills were to combine on that, it might take a little bit even longer than it actually did. So I think the branding here of "My city smells like Cheerios" night, and then the Bisons maintaining all the elements of the uniforms themselves, and we were working on this, kind of in tandem with General Mills, but also this idea was going to work no matter what, even if the permissions weren't signed off on. Cereal night would still be a thing, and that's something that would have been able to be celebrated at the ballpark. So I think also if it were something that were more than just maybe one night for a couple of years, if it were our friends in Rochester play as the Plates every single Thursday, and they don't have a mascot yet, but if they had a mascot for a plate, like, it would make sense, right? Because they're the Rochester Plates, because the garbage plate,
Right.
like you're mentioning, so, or the Syracuse Salt Potatoes. With it being a singular standalone night, I think that might make it more difficult in getting all those things signed off on for the time frame that we were kind of looking at.
That singular night, by the way, is August 7, which I know offhand because it's the day after my birthday. So I'll be well aware. Is it generally is it generally considered a positive thing when the wind is right and the city smells like Cheerios? Like, are people like, oh, good, it's a Cheerios day?
Yeah, and I think that goes back to kind of the elements in the Jersey sleep. Like everyone in Buffalo, they smell the Cheerios and they think, well, that's a point of pride because the box of Cheerios that you might eat anywhere in the country could have come from Buffalo, and there's ways to find out where that was created based on the marking on the box. And I think for a lot of us, it brings us back to our childhood too, of eating Cheerios or Lucky Charms or any of the different General Mills cereals for breakfast before you went to school, and it's pride and it's nostalgia as well. And I think those are two elements that when you talk about creating logos, creating identities, creating different theme nights, those are all the things that you're trying to strive for. And it's just an easy selling point in Western New York with those two emotions kind of always coming to the forefront.
All right, Pat, let's talk about this. You absolutely made my day when email notification pops up on my phone and you let me know that as a result of, and I'm not trying to claim more credit than is due here, but the way I understood it from your email was an offhand comment that I made in a conversation that you and I were having about Buffalo in 2023 led you to take that ball and run with it. And 3 years later, this comment that came up in our conversation led to this night. What was that process? And am I accepting too much credit for playing a small part in this night happening?
No, I honestly think that if we hadn't had that conversation on your podcast, and if I remember correctly, we were talking about Buffalo wings and the
Mm-hmm.
branding of the Buffalo wings for a
Mm-hmm.
couple of years, and I kind of mentioned how in Buffalo we don't call them the Buffalo wings; it's just the wings, and that's maybe one of the reasons why it's a night that hasn't really lived on too much. But in Buffalo, we talk about our city smells like Cheerios, and every off season we have, or right around September, we have conversations in that marketing meeting with the folks I mentioned, even some other members of our front office about, all right, it's getting down to the year. What are the theme nights you want to talk about? And you're limited to just a couple of theme nights each year. So we all come up with ideas, and I thought, well, this is an easy one. I think this is something that, again, everyone in Buffalo, if you say my city smells like Cheerios, they think about it as a point of pride. So even though it's maybe not necessarily a traditional food themed night at the ballpark that we've come to know from most teams across baseball in the minors, it's something that it's almost like the 716 day here in Buffalo, where the area code for Buffalo is 716. And on July 16th, there will be a lot of charitable efforts around Buffalo. So again, tying in those elements of local themes and local points of pride, I just thought it would be something to just bring up in conversation in our marketing meeting. Again, also because the response that you gave me told me that, all right, this is something that would resonate in Buffalo, but I think would resonate with minor league baseball fans and fans of sports in general. So, what's the worst you do? You bring up an idea and people say, I like it, but maybe it doesn't fit the theme of what we're going for the next year. And that was back in 2023 in something that we wanted to maybe do in the 24-25 season. But again, it goes back to, if we want to do our city smells like Cheerios night, we have to do it in partnership with General Mills. We can't just go out and do this on our own and not have their blessing on it. So that process, just by nature of business, not by fault of anybody on our side or theirs, it took a while for that to happen. So that's why the jersey is yellow, because it's, even if it was just our city smells like cereal night or cereal night at the ballpark, you would know what we're talking about. But General Mills quickly bought in. As soon as we had the opportunity to talk to the folks there at the plant in Western New York and a corporate who deal with a lot of those trademarking and approval issues, they were quick to sign on to it. So I wish it were something that we were able to do maybe a year or two ago, but just the timing wasn't right then. And it also allowed us, I think, to kind of refine the night as well. And there'll be cereal giveaways at the ballpark that night. You mentioned the spoon that you got in the box with your cap. Well, we're doing that with pretty much any cereal night item that is bought and shipped out. And I think that goes to Terry McDonald and her crew, who back in the Buffalo Wings days when they were selling those items, would send a T-shirt or a cap or anything that you bought in one of those boxes that the take home wings would come in. Those little elements that make it that much more enjoyable for the fans. So I think it allowed us over these last 2 years to kind of build the branding a little bit more, build up the night a little bit more, and even just looking at this year, I was anticipating unveiling this night because, again, I know what kind of pride it brings to people in Buffalo to talk about Cheerios and General Mills being in Western New York. So we didn't unveil it right away at the start of the season with our original promotional list, but always in the back of my mind, oh, all right, when are we releasing Cereal Night? When is Cereal Night coming up? And then, it was end of April, beginning of May that we were finally able to do that. And I think the fact that we had to wait an extra year or so, I think adds to the night and all the elements that we're kind of building into it.
Well, it certainly stands out, I think, because, as you know, I cover these things for sportslogos.net. I wrote about this on Sports Logos, and it was just different from the other articles that I wrote, right? Like, it's a different approach, and it's a different kind of evening, and it plays into that civic pride in a way that I think is just so cool. So I will say, I mean, you emailed me and you said, hey, this idea that came up in our conversation became this fully fleshed out idea. And I was really pleased to see that. But it's, credit is to you to take that and run with it, right? Like, I mean, it's just incredible how long a process this is to see how long it takes for something to go from idea to reality, especially in affiliated minor league baseball, right? Maybe if you were an independent professional team or collegiate summer level team, you could have done it in a week, right? Like, but
Exactly.
For the AAA Buffalo Bisons, which actually plays into my last question for you, which is the Bisons, we mentioned at the beginning of the interview here, are a storied tradition. You all have been fairly careful with your alternate identities. You don't do a bajillion wild identities every single year. And, you have a classic identity and a certain place in the pantheon of minor league baseball. Do you have to take a different approach to alternate identities with that sort of place in minor league baseball in mind? Being a classic franchise, does it change how you approach theme nights, alternate identities, that sort of thing?
I think it does in certain ways. In certain ways, I can look to our Star Wars night or even the addition of a Harry Potter night last year, where we don't wear special caps for those nights, but we've been wearing special Star Wars jerseys for now 16, 17 years, and they change every year. And a lot of them are unique to us only based on our relationship with Star Wars and Lucasfilms. Or Harry Potter night, which was added to our schedule last year and is back this year. I think we're kind of evolving with the trends as well. We're adding in more theme nights, but also we know what our brand is and what our brand looks like. And I think that starts with the president of our team, the president of Rich Baseball Operations, Mike Buchkowski. He's somebody who's worked for the team. He's from Buffalo. He's worked for the team since the 80s. Brad, who I mentioned, has worked for the team since the early 2000s. Most of us grew up in Western New York, know the Bisons, have gone to games for years. So it's that love of the organization, the franchise, and the identity and the branding. You mentioned Buster T. Bison. I mean, he's been around since 1983, since baseball really, returned in 79, but really has been back in full force since 83. So, he evolved then. I talk about our modern era, which is AAA baseball back in Buffalo from 85 to now. Like, I think we all look at ourselves as we're just caretakers of this incredible brand and this incredible opportunity here in Buffalo of minor league baseball. So how do we best represent it? And whether that's the logo, whether that's the history, the tradition, letting folks know that we've been around since 1877. And yeah, the team tried to get expansion in Major League Baseball in the early 90s, didn't happen, but we're proud to be a minor league franchise and hopefully one that people look to and say, yeah, they do things right and they do it in ways that kind of improve and kind of enhance their branding. So I think always keeping that in the back of our minds, we will continue to try and add to new trends. Like the Buffalo Wings, I think, is another good example. It got on the trend of the food items, and even though it may not have stuck around as long as some folks that when they first started would have hoped into an every year thing, it doesn't hurt to try something and see if it works, and are there different elements of it that we can maybe take towards a nut like this one in My City Smells Like Cheerios. I'm sure I was not part of that creative process all the way back in 2016 and 2017 that led to our Wings nights, but I'm sure if I talk to Brad or Anthony Sprague, our general manager, there are certain elements of those nights that have kind of worked their way into what we're doing this time, and things we've learned and things that the tradition we keep on by always keeping an eye out for what our branding has been and wanting to honor that.
Well, I have to say this is such a fun story. I wish I had another idea for you to take, like, and then we could talk 3 years from now. Like, I don't think you guys are going to do like Paul Caputo night where everyone gets an ice cream helmet and a dad hat, right? Like, or baseball by design night where everyone gets a pencil and an ice cream helmet. So,
Yeah, ice cream helmet night. Someone's got to do that one next. I mean, the Phillies kind of have the rights to all that stuff, but that's definitely something.
the Phillies do a ton of ice cream helmets. It's true. It's they take up a big chunk of the collection out in the Helmet Sunday Hall of Fame behind me out there. So, Pat, this is so much fun. It's not a secret now that later on this year I'm going to be moving back to the East Coast, my native East Coast. So I will hope to get up to Buffalo for my second ever Buffalo Bisons game. I've been once. It was in April years ago, maybe even before you were there. Probably it was in like 2015, 2016, I think. So it was a cold day at the ballpark. I'm going to come up during August maybe at some point and see a warmer baseball game in Buffalo. And I will proudly wear my city smells like Cheerios night Buffalo Bisons cap. Pat, this whole story has been so much fun. I really appreciate first of all, I really appreciate you touching base with me to let me know, to give me a forewarning that it was coming, and to remind me of the conversation that we had that played a part in its existence. And congratulations on a fun alternate identity that's been so well received.
Thanks, Paul. I really appreciate it. Thanks for just even being the sounding board at the start 3 years ago and making sure that was something fun we could do. So looking forward to having you in Buffalo at some time later this year, and best of luck with the move. I'm sure we'll be talking again at some point.
I have no doubt that that is the case. Pat, where can people find you on social media and the Bisons online?
Yeah, you can find me at PatWGR, still on X these days, or you can find us at the Bisons, all social media platforms at Buffalo Bisons, Facebook.com/Buffalo Bisons, all those different sites, and a lot of fun stuff there. I'm sure that we will still be taking part in as we lead up to My City Smells Like Cheerios night.
Amazing. Pat, thank you so much.
Thanks, Paul.
All right, everyone, welcome back to Baseball by Design. My friend Val Ruiz, the Stadium Food Girl. Val, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me on again.
You have been on the podcast before. We did a whole episode on we each did like our 5 favorite food-based identities. That was a fun episode. And so
Awesome.
I'm kind of thinking that you need to be like Baseball by Design's official food correspondent here. So this is
Hey,
this
sign me up.
so this works out to have you on for this episode. This is a different kind of food-based identity, right? Like I was talking with Pat Malacaro from the Bisons about this, about how like normally a team would just be like, we're the Buffalo Cheerios, we're the Buffalo Breakfast Flakes or something, right? They're
Mhm.
doing it differently. They're doing a My City Smells Like Cheerios theme night at the ballpark, and they've combined this Bison's brand with the Cheerios box, essentially. So before we get into that and that branding and how much fun that is, what's your favorite breakfast cereal?
Oh shoot, you know what? I love chocolate anything, so I'm gonna have to go Cocoa Puffs.
Can you recall an occasion where you have seen cereal at a ballpark for sale at a concession item? Certainly not like you can't just get like a bowl of Rice Krispies, right? But like toppings on ice cream or
Okay,
okay,
actually, yes.
okay,
Last year, I went to a Dodgers game, and in on the first level, directly behind first base, there is their dessert stand, and they did a milkshake where it was the cup and it was rimmed with marshmallow fluff, and it then they rolled it in Rice Krispies. So that's like the closest thing I've seen to it. So I wouldn't really call it like a breakfast item. That's more dessert,
yeah.
but they incorporated the Rice Krispies. So
So first of all, Rice Krispies and ice cream is like a magical combination. Like that is absolutely something that I would have. In Ocean City, New Jersey, we've got a breakfast place, and I forget the name of it. It might be called Treats and Treasures, but they combine ice cream and cereal. They sort of like mix it in like Cold Stone style, and so that's pretty good. You can choose your ice cream, choose your cereal, and then choose your toppings. So Treats and Treasures in Ocean City, New Jersey. I'll see you there this summer. There
yes,
are other breakfast themed alternate identities, though. We've got obviously Scrapple in Delmarva, the Iron Pigs. They do some bacon themed things. Can you think of
yes.
any breakfast themed either concession items or alternate identities that Stadium Food Girl has covered.
Honey butter chicken biscuits with the Corpus Christi hooks. They play at Whataburger Field,
Yeah,
double affiliate of the Houston Astros. They play at Whataburger Field, and I think one day they did a honey butter chicken biscuits night, I believe.
yeah,
So, and then I don't know if like the Montgomery biscuits would be considered. I guess it depends
I
on how
think
you like
so.
it. It's okay.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think biscuits are, well, I don't know. Now that I say that out loud, you definitely have biscuits at breakfast, right? Like, but it's,
Yeah. But if you're
you
from
know,
the South, you have them any time of the day with butter.
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah, especially, and
Yeah,
that Montgomery Biscuits logo is so great because his tongue is a pat of butter. That's
so
a,
cute.
I know it's adorable. It's pretty adorable. The Buffalo Bisons, though, my city smells like Cheerios night. They have Buster the Bison diving into a bowl of Cheerios on the jersey, and they've got little Cheerios all over the jersey. And then the hat, which they sent me one of these hats. Thank you to Pat for that. That is an awesome hat with it's the bright yellow Cheerios yellow with Buster on the front. But they have they combined their own logo with this sort of breakfast theme. Surely you've seen it. What do you think?
I just want to say that this is one of my favorite logos for a few reasons. One, I love the two-tone. I know our listeners
Hmm.
can't see right now, but I have a Salt Lake Bees
Yeah,
hat two-tone, so I automatically love that.
yeah,
Another reason why I love this is I've mentioned on multiple podcasts that I absolutely love when they incorporate baseball into the logo.
yeah.
And so Buster swinging the not bat, the spoon, 11 out of 10. No, no. And then last but not least, the fact that it is a food alternate logo.
Right.
I'm gonna automatically love it, but because it has that touch of baseball, I just feel like that's the way to go. The touch of baseball is perfect. The food logo is perfect. The colors I love, and I love bright colors too.
Oh yeah.
Um, so that yellow is awesome.
Yeah, I nobody's gonna miss me if I'm wearing my new Buffalo Bison's Cheerios themed hat.
You
It
know,
is a bright yellow, good running hat for early in the morning if it's maybe a little dark.
I'm not a runner, and I'd still wear the hat.
It does make me think though, like there's probably a lot of great cereals out there that would make for a great logo. Like I'm just trying to think of
Trix would be another
oh,
fun
Trix.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was like my favorite non-chocolate cereal.
I mean, it's basically Cocoa Puffs without the chocolate, right? Like it's little balls that sort of look like Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I could see like a cornflake being a logo, like an anthropomorphic cornflake, and like maybe like a whole bunch of them all running together, like because there's a bunch of cornflakes. I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot to think about there.
I also feel like this logo is very special. Well, when minor league teams create these fun alternate identities,
Yeah.
and it's not just random, right? It's a way that really connects to the city. And for those who don't know, the General Mills factory is just steps away from the stadium, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It's
Which
right
is
on the
why,
edge of the Great Lakes, and then that
yeah.
wind comes whipping in off the Great Lakes and
Hmm.
carries the smell of the roasting grains and everything over the city, and they love it
Yes.
there.
So literally the city does smell like
Yeah.
Cheerios. And I hear that when it rains, the smell is extra strong. So
Oh, Pat and I didn't talk about that, I don't think. We'll have to, that's, I believe it though. It makes a lot of sense. It brings all those smells down to earth. I don't know how that works, but it
I think
does,
that's awesome.
it does seem like it would be a really cool thing. I have been saying to Pat, I really hope that the wind is blowing the right direction and that General Mills is up to preparing Cheerios, however they prepare their Cheerios on August 7, which is A, the day after my birthday, and B, the day that the Buffalo Bisons are taking the field in these awesome yellow uniforms.
I love the jersey. I just, like I said, I have maybe close to 60 jerseys total,
Wow.
like between MILB and MLB.
Yeah.
And my favorites have to be my loud, funky looking jerseys. So when I'm looking at this and I'm seeing the all yellow, it's just perfect.
Right.
It's perfect.
And the jerseys with the Cheerios just sort of scattered all over it. It looks like someone like hit a box of Cheerios over and it spilled all over the all over the uniform. Yeah,
It's awesome.
that is one of my favorites. And then Buster T. Bison diving into the bowl and the bowl has the
Yes.
little outline of buffalo on it. Yeah, it's just fun, and it's just like, as I said to you and I said to Pat before, it's just different from what other minor league teams are doing with their food-based identities. So I thought that this one was just particularly cool.
This is a fun one for sure.
Yeah. Well, I doubt that you're gonna make it all the way from Las Vegas to Buffalo for my City Smells Like Cheerios night, but and
Oh,
I will be in Colorado that night, so I won't be able to be there either. But I do need to get back to a Bisons game and raid their team store for some more of this merch.
I need to cross this ballpark off. I would love to be there for this night. I don't know if I'm gonna make it though, but for me, I like to only purchase the merch once I'm at that stadium. But I don't know, like I feel like something that could be an exception because one, I feel like there's going to be limited merchandise, and two, I just love that yellow.
Well, I'll tell you what, we tried to schedule our Curve Rim Media meetup for Buffalo and Toronto this year, and we got upended by the World Cup. So it seems to me that maybe the 2027 Curve Rim Media Meetup, we should try again to go back to Buffalo and Toronto.
I agree. I
There you go.
1000% agree.
Val, the Stadium Food Girl, where can people find you online?
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Threads, and a little bit on Twitter, or back on Twitter-ish, but Stadium Food Girl.
This brand would make a great ice cream helmet now that I'm thinking about it, like a bright yellow helmet
Yes.
with Buster T. Bison and the splash of, and then you would have to eat cereal out of that ice cream
You
helmet.
have to,
That is
like,
your new cereal bowl.
before it goes on display, or maybe you never even put it on maybe you get two, one for display, one solely for
Right.
cereal.
Right, exactly. They are giving away a bowl with this branding on it at the game on August 7. Yeah.
I gotta look on eBay after.
Right, yeah. Well, on August 8, check out eBay.
Uh,
Val, this is fun as always. We'll see you again next time.
awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait.
Deep within the recesses of his secret headquarters, somewhere in Louisville, Kentucky, sits Dan Simon. By day, Dan is the owner of Studio Simon, but by night, he tries to stump one Paul Caputo. This is Studio Simon Stumper.
All right, everyone, welcome back. We're still in Dan's kitchen, and we're ready now for Studio Simon Stumpers. And normally, Dan and I are recording this on Zoom, and Dan has all of this on his computer, and he's reading his notes. Here in your kitchen, Dan, you have it printed up. So I'm doing everything I can to not look at this printed piece of paper that you have because I don't want to give away the answer. Although, if I were to look at that, is the answer actually on it? Like, does
Sort of not. So,
okay, it just
so
lists, you know, the answer in your head. So, okay.
yes.
Well, I'm still not looking at your sheet of paper, but let's have it. Let's have the Studio Simon Stumper around cereal or buffalo or bisons.
Well, first let's talk about cereal, shall we?
I love talking about cereal.
Okay. Cheerios are for certain a not just a breakfast cereal staple, but
Yeah.
they're on the Mount Rushmore of breakfast cereals, wouldn't you say?
100%.
Now, I would add to that cornflakes,
Yeah.
Fruit Loops.
Oh.
No?
I thought you were going to go with the standard, like, to me, I divide cereal into two categories, ones that will burn when you throw them in a fire and ones that will melt when you throw them in a fire.
That's how you categorize
And
them.
Fruit Loops are ones that melt rather than burn, I think. So
Well, anyway, let me add to the Mount Rushmore, or at least Mount Mushmore.
Mount Mushmore, that's what your cereal turns into.
Mount Rushmore, I guess, limits it to four. So let's call it the pantheon of
Okay. Ooh.
breakfast cereals. So,
All right.
cornflakes, Fruit Loops, Captain Crunch, Lucky Charms, Trix, Frosted Flakes. Then you've got kind of a secondary tier where you
Okay.
get still, favorites, but like Cocoa Puffs and Special K and Sugar Pops.
Okay.
What were, just out of curiosity, did you have a favorite cereal growing up, or plural cereals?
This is no joke. Every single day before school, I got up and had a bowl of Cheerios. I loved Cheerios. This is like my favorite cereal. Like, I'm so excited for this brand because Cheerios were my favorite. Like, every day I would have a bowl of Cheerios. Now I like a bowl of cornflakes as well. I'll mix in some cornflakes.
Wait,
Uh,
mix into the,
into the rotation.
okay, not
Yeah.
mix them with
E-
Cheerios.
Exactly. And then here's the thing about this. Like there are these cereals out there that they're like these super dense like granola with dried fruit and that's like I don't mind them, but to me they're like a topping. It's like putting Jimmy's on ice cream, right? Like you pour yourself a bowl of Cheerios and then you sprinkle some of these like dense granola, nut, but it's like, 90% Cheerios, 10% this other cereal.
So have you ever had a bowl of Jimmy's?
No, just like I would never have a bowl of the super dense granola nut cereals.
Okay. So let's try to pull ourselves back to the Studio Simon Stumper.
Okay.
So I did want to talk about that, but then in addition to cereals for breakfast, there are other breakfast staples
Okay.
a number of them have been done for minor league baseball alternate identities. Those include the Norfolk Coffee,
Yeah.
the Delmarva Scrapple,
Yeah.
though it's no longer an affiliated team, the Vermont Lake Monsters did the Vermont Maple Kings.
Yeah.
So they had an anthropomorphized maple jug.
hmm And they're still around as a collegiate summer level team.
Right.
Yeah.
And then right now, listeners, Paul is wearing a Philadelphia Phillies jersey for his day on the road today, and
We
maybe even wearing tonight.
we have a game in
Tuesday.
Pittsburgh at 4 o'clock. That's our next stop.
Your Phillies AAA affiliate, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, had two bacon identities. One was the Bacon USA,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they did the Fightin' Bacon, where
Hmm.
they had, I'm trying to think of what the team they were. Oh, it was against I believe, the Fresno Tacos, and then people voted which is the best food themed identity. And I think the Fightin' Bacon won something like 52 to 48%.
Really, that's because of our nationwide obsession with wrapping anything we can in bacon. There's a big debate over which was the first food-based identity in minor league baseball. You think that this would be easily settled, but it's a big debate.
But isn't it between the Fresno Tacos and the Philly cheesesteaks
The Lehigh Valley cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
That is my understanding of this battle. Yeah.
Okay. And whatever. So with all of that stuff being said, our studio Simon Stumper today asks, which of these breakfast staples has not been made into an affiliated minor league baseball alternate identity?
Okay.
Is it flapjacks? Is it grits? Or is it scrambled eggs?
All right. The grits, the Columbia Fireflies did the grits.
You are correct. Well, I shouldn't say you're correct.
Oh yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
you're
you're
incorrect.
you're giving it away. So maybe. But I can say with some confidence that the Columbia Fireflies did the grits, and I believe that the Reading Fightin' Phils did the flapjacks. The conversation was, I grew up in Pennsylvania. I don't recall anyone ever calling them flapjacks, but they didn't go Reading pancakes. They went Reading flapjacks. So I'm going to say that the third option, the scrambled eggs, is one that has never been made into an alternate identity.
And you are correct. As far as I know, there are no egg alternate identities.
Oh,
As far as I know, but I don't know everything, and it's hard to know everything. Now, if I had my druthers, as the saying goes, I would have not said flapjacks. I would have rather say pancakes
Right.
because it sounds more generic.
Yeah.
And flapjack sounds very specific, as you just pointed out.
right.
But you are correct on all fronts. The Columbia Fireflies did the grits. The Reading Fightin' Phils did the flapjacks. Why they did flapjacks instead of pancakes,
Yeah.
I'm not certain. However, friend of the show, Sky Dillon,
Yeah.
did an alternate identity for the Collegiate Summer League Lexington County Blowfish,
Uh-huh.
and he did a Lexington County Pancakes alternate identity. So
Okay.
maybe that existed, that happened before Reading did the
and
flapjacks. So
yeah.
they did flapjacks because maybe I don't know if they couldn't also do pancakes, but maybe they
Yeah.
saw that and said, well, let's just make it flapjacks so we could be.
If you had gone with pancakes instead of flapjacks in your list, that might have thrown me off. I might have thought you were trying to fake me out because I knew that Reading had done the flapjacks, but I did not know that the Blowfish had done that pancakes alternate. So I maybe would have thought, because scrambled eggs, you can see how that might be an identity. Eggs are visually, they feel like something that you could turn into an alternate identity pretty easily. That feels very logo-fiable to me.
And especially in like an over easy egg.
It would be
But
really easy to do.
I think scrambled eggs would be hard.
That would be
because
harder. Yeah, it would just look like a brain.
Yeah.
But yeah, but like
yellow brain.
a fried egg or an over easy egg, like you say, yeah, I mean, absolutely, that would be, and maybe a slightly more orange yellow than this Cheerios yellow. This Cheerios yellow, by the way, I'm just sitting here looking at the box while we're having this conversation, is very iconic, right? Like that is a very specific yellow that you don't necessarily see. I don't know, like is that if I were to see that Cheerios yellow in the wild, would you recognize that as like Cheerios yellow, or is that just like 100% solid yellow?
Well, it doesn't look like it's 100% solid yellow, but close. But I don't know if you saw that in the wild, would you immediately think Cheerios? But I do think if you asked 10 people what color is a Cheerios box,
Yeah.
9 of them would say yellow, maybe even 10.
That font combined with that yellow color is just absolutely, from a design perspective, so iconic, right? That is so recognizable and so well done. And good job by General Mills for creating an iconic breakfast brand in Cheerios. I wonder how long Cheerios had been around in this form. When was that yellow box introduced?
Offhand,
I'm going to ask Pat Malacaro about that. But Dan, this has been so much fun. It's so much fun to record a Studio Simon Stumper with you in person here in your home in Louisville, where we got to crash overnight. And I'll post Dan's address in the show notes so that everyone can show up and take advantage of this great guest room.
go right ahead. And it was my pleasure hosting you and Baseball by Design wildlife correspondent Ranger Amy.
She's out back looking for birds or squirrels or something right now. We've had a lot of time on the road. We've got more time on the road coming up. Wheels up in 3 minutes according to the schedule. So it's time to hit the road, as they say, Dan.
And you'll be on the road again.
I hear on the road again. Dan, thank you.
You're welcome. See you next time. And you've always got a bed here at Shea Simon.
Well, I should also point out that when you walked us up to the guest room, the bed was covered with gifts from your portfolio, and so I now have some new T-shirts and jerseys and a Mike Schmidt bobblehead.
Mike Schmidt
Figurine.
Starting lineup figurine.
So yeah, so this is every time you show up here at Dan Simon's house, address is in the show notes, you get free stuff from Dan. It's amazing.
Okay.
Thanks, Dan.